Good morning, it's Jeremy. It's Monday, March the 9th. And today I'm going to be looking at something I looked at 3 years ago, which was using the PlutoSDR as a whisper beacon. Now, 3 years ago, I just considered the theory of it. And if you consider the power of the Pluto, it's, let's say, at the TX port here, it's only about 0 dBm. But since I looked at this 3 years ago, I've got two sets of extra equipment that has appeared on the scene. Now this is a 20 dB LNA, which I used with my CubeSat. It's a wideband LNA. I used it with CubeSats, and I've also got this 2 meter 70 centimeter Yagi. So I thought, let's give it a try and actually do a test with the Whisper Beacon on air using the LNA and the Yagi. So I might have a chance of actually getting out there. So what I've got set up here is I've got the Pluto, the LNA, I'm feeding into a spectrum analyzer, I'm doing a power test. I'm feeding the LNA with a lithium battery. The reason being is I don't want to use up all the USB ports on the computer. And there I'm looking at the spectrum. I'll go into Camtasia and we'll look at the GNU radio SSB transmitter that's used to fire up the Pluto, and we'll look at the Whisper output. I find that with the Pluto, you got to be careful not to overload it. So the audio signal coming out of Whisper, you have to look at the volume carefully and not to overload the transmitter. And also what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a loopback test. I've got an RTL here. I'm going to feed that in there. And on a separate instance, I'm going to have Ubuntu running on VMware on the same laptop. And I'll have another instance of WSJT on the receive mode working in Ubuntu, so we can do a loopback test. So anyways, we'll look at that on Camtasia.
Okay, so this is the GNU radio schematic that I'm using to test the PlutoSDR. This is the SSB upper sideband transmitter that I used 3 years ago. And what I've done here is I've connected just a signal source. The Whisper produces a tone typically around 1.5 kilohertz. So this is just a signal source to simulate that tone for power testing. So I'm running the schematic right now, and this is the runtime, the window here. I can adjust my tone level here, and this is where I look at the output spectrum. I find that if I go beyond 0.5, the spurious level rises and the power output drops. So around 0.3 seems to be about the optimum level. I've got the full gain on here. I've got a QT GUI entry here for the frequency shift. The Pluto drifts a fair amount, so you gotta let it warm up and find the right shift to put it exactly on 1.5 kilohertz on top of 144.489, which is like, let's say, the 2 meter frequency. I've got a select option here. I can select 6 meters, 2 meters, or 70 centimeters. So let's go into the spectrum analyzer here. And you can see it's drifted a little bit. I'm on the peak search, so typically -4. I've got a 20 dB pad in there, so that's plus 16 dBm. And let's look at the worst spurious here. So it's about, at 0.3, it's about 43 dB down, which is pretty good. Now if I adjust this, let's say I go up to 0.5, you can see this level has increased quite a bit. So we've only got about 30 dB separation there. So that's why it's good to do a power test with the level. Now the next thing I'm going to do, let's switch this thing off. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use Whisper itself with the output signal. So I'm going to use this schematic here, same as the other one, except now I've got the audio source. So it's a virtual audio cable connected from the Whisper output to the audio source. So I'm going to set up the loopback now, and then on the receive end we'll have an RTL-SDR working into Ubuntu on VMware, which is sitting on this laptop as well. So let's set that up and we'll have a look at that.
Good afternoon, it's Jeremy. It's Thursday, March the 12th, and it's a couple of days later, and I've done the loop back with the RTL into the same laptop, and now I'm actually transmitting. So I don't know if you can see outside there, I've got my 2 meter 70 centimeter Yagi, and it's connected to my LNA, which goes to the PlutoSDR. We're on 2 meters here, Whisper, and I'm transmitting from this laptop. Because of the lower sideband, I want to make sure there's no spurious there, so I've cut the power down here minus 11 dB, so the voltage coming out of Whisper is 0.3 volts peak to peak. And what I'm doing is I'm monitoring over here on my desktop, and I've got my RTL with a little stubby antenna that comes with a Pluto. That's just to make sure the RTL doesn't get overloaded. And you can see that there's frequency shift here. The drift is -4. It's not too great. I'm just decoding my own signal here just to make sure that it's going out properly. And so that's the setup here. And then net and map, and I'm over here. I'm just going to check periodically to see if my signal gets through. Anyway, so that's the hardware setup. In the next blog and video, what we'll do is we'll discuss the results of this test and what I found. Like I say, the frequency drifts, unfortunately, might be a problem, but we'll see.